Oh, what's up? Welcome to the Unofficial Tedeschi Trucks podcast. This is episode, what is it, number 215. I am Adam Choit. How's everybody doing out there? Please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. I appreciate that. Like the video, share the video, all that stuff's appreciated for sure as well. At Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. If you want to follow there, patreon.com/TTB podcast to support. Thank you, Kathleen, Stacy, Troy, Daniel, Mariah, Bo, and Marion for the support. Patreon.com/TTB podcast. All the links to everything is in the episode description below on YouTube. I'll get out an audio version of this episode as well later tonight, tomorrow. Get that out soon for you guys. Promise as well. I know you got people who listen as well. Got listeners, of course. Weedside and Woodside, Randy Burshaw, that's his spot, supporter of the show. Great Tedeschi Trucks Band fan, of course. That's Weedside and Woodside for your THC. CBD needs, awesome shop in the New York City area if you're ever there. I want to get into today's episode. We're doing a stream. The tour is over for the year for TTB. No more shows other than the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is coming up. I know Derek and Susan will be there for that. Then I'll definitely keep an eye out for any other appearances that they might make publicly, playing music or otherwise. We'll keep an eye out for that. But Live in 25 is pretty much over for TTB, but I want to catch up with past guests. He's returning to the show, Bob Beatty, the Allman Brothers, big fan, runs the Long Live the Allman Brothers Instagram page. Very cool page. Check that out. He posts a lot more consistently than I do. We were talking about that. So definitely appreciate his passion and all the content he posts and shares. And he's the author of Play All Night, Duane Allman, and the Journey to the Fillmore East. So I figured we'd talk some TTB, talk some ABB, talk some everything else in the music world. So let's bring him in. What is happening, my friend?
My brother, how are you? It's good to be back. Big fan of your work, and obviously big fan of Tedeschi Trucks Band. So I was happy when we started talking, and I got a chance at least to say hello and talk a little chop it up. We haven't done it in a little while. It's been a little while. Yeah.
No, we got people here watching. Brandon Brando, what's up? Looking forward to the conversation.
Biggie, my boy.
Help with handiwork. Are these your people?
Yes.
You happen to know these people?
Dude, those are my best friends from college. Two of my 3 or 4 best friends from college. Jason played bass in my band in college. We called 1% after a James Addiction song. So, and Biggie is still one of my best friends. I've taken Biggie's, they all lived me discovering the Allman Brothers, and they're all like, no, dude, you're too far into this. But Biggie has been. I took him to the Beacon at least twice. So that's awesome that they're here. I just said, hey guys, I'm going to be on this thing, talking shop with my dudes. So yeah, good to be back.
It's good to have you and appreciate the kind words. Yeah, that's what I always say. Like, you bring someone to one, maybe this was an Allman Brothers that you're referring to, but you go to one show, you're going to go to more than one. That's how it's been with everyone who I've been to shows, whether it's my sister, my brother-in-law, my dad, my mom, friends in LA. 95% of the people who I've dragged to one TTB show have come to more than one with me.
Yeah, you kind of I'm loving the attention they're getting, and I'm also a little afraid to let go of some of the, but and I'm not really, because they've broken past the smaller kind of thing. But I'm just loving the attention that they're getting, and I'm glad they're able to sustain that big ass band and tour without having to compromise a damn thing. That's pretty special this day and age, for sure. And totally I'm all in, all in.
You've been good though. Things good with you. You're back home. I'm assuming you're.
Yeah, I'm in Nashville. I'm in Nashville. I leave tomorrow to go to New Mexico. I've been traveling a lot. It's funny when we talked, I was like, well, how many shows did I see this year? And I think it was only 4, and it was really only 3 and a little bit, because I was at I call it I Am the Moon Crush. They call it Sun, Sand, and Soul, but it's at the site of the Moon Crush Festival. Why they missed that, I don't know. Anyway, but they quit 2 songs in, 3 songs in with the Storms. And so I count it, but it really wasn't a show. But I have been running, and thank God for Nugs, thank God for Swamp Family, that where you can, it becomes an event just like it did back when, when they released I Am the Moon, and we were all like sitting there as they did each album and each video and watched the new video. And same with this. It was, thank God, because that got my fix this year more so than I was able to get myself, just because I've been traveling, and I have been writing like crazy on my Substack. That's really my home. And so like last week, a week ago to tomorrow, I saw Cameron Crowe speak here at the Country Music Hall of Fame on his new book, Almost Famous. And it really got me to thinking about a few things, and the next couple things I'm thinking about writing about both on Substack and in general, how bands are covered by the media. Real interesting dichotomy. This Cameron Crowe dearly loved the Allman Brothers, and it was super clear from the minute he came out on stage. And for a guy like me, guys like us, you're just like, thank you. Like let's keep this kind of glow going. So anyway, you were asking how I was. I've gotten a chance to catch a couple TTB shows at the end of the year. Fortunately, got my shots. Got my my little shot of adrenaline, and then had a really nice time there with Cameron Crowe last week, celebrating the same kind of thing, music. So all in all, it's going well. And you know how it is when you're putting yourself out in the world and just saying, hey, look at this. This is cool. I find this interesting. Maybe you do too. And there's some moments when that's really lonely. As a creative person, the term creator is fine with me. It's a little bit, kind of convoluted, but it's, as a creative person, as a person creating something and putting it out in the world, it's a lonely proposition a lot of times. And so I go through patches of that the last couple of years since right before the book came out. And thank you for the shout out on the book. Appreciate that very much. Always good to get play all night out in front of the peoples again.
No doubt. I see the Learning to Live Together poster, but behind you. Where did you get that? Did we? Am I having deja vu? We had this conversation. You got
no
screening or something? Someone said
it was here. They ran like, you remember, it hit the streets for like 2 days or something. It was really
nationwide, or it happened to be in LA and a few other cities.
Yeah, the Belmont Theater here in Nashville, that also back in the 30s and 40s hosted the Grand Ole Opry, and in some of its early days, they had a showing, and I just I was like, hey, can I get that poster when you're done? Hey, can I get that poster when you're done? And it was all this, we don't know, first it goes to donors, blah, blah, blah. I had that on my door for a long time. And then this was bookshelves and records, and the whole damn thing came down. The records shifted. And so I got a chance to redecorate for now, and it looks more like a college dorm room. The one thing that stayed was the TTB pennant. It was the only thing that remained up on the wall. Like it was like the never surrender, the whole thing was gone with this one pennant that was sitting there. So, and that's coming out this week, next week.
That's why I was bringing it. Partially why I was bringing it up, because I did see. I think Jesse Lauder posted an Instagram story or some post yesterday. The director saying it will be out on YouTube. I think next week. I'm not sure what channel. Maybe it's his own channel or TTB's. I'm not sure what platform, but I think I'll find it fairly quickly. I think we'll be able to find it. So somebody may post that.
They don't. And they're also, I saw in the same thing, releasing Mad Dogs and Englishmen, which it's crazy. I must have seen it.
When is that coming out? Because that I haven't even been able to find.
They're back to back. So when you go back to look it up, maybe you're looking it up now. One is 1 week. The TTB one is 1 week, and the actual one is another week. I think it's like this week or next week. One of the two comes out on YouTube. I just saw this like earlier today or yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's great. I've seen Mad Dogs and Englishmen one time. I think I must have gotten it on DVD And I usually back in those days, I would burn a copy of that DVD just in case. And I didn't. And so I've never seen it again. I've listened to the record a bunch of times, but I've never seen the movie again. And it's crazy. It reflects to me the stories that I've heard about that tour, like fully, like the way, and I can see from like Derek and Susan's part that like this was a good way. This is like this is a cool model to follow. Let's keep the decadence out of it. Let's keep some of this, weirdness out of it where we can, and then, but let's do that. Let's have a really good. Can I cuss? Can I use the F word? Okay. I thought so. I'm sorry. Let's have go out there and have a really good fucking time and show people a really good fucking time. And, man, I mean, that has been consistent from the very beginning. This last, 10 years or so, I think they even mentioned they hit a pivot when they did that Mad Dogs and Englishmen thing. I think I remember reading that somewhere, that they just hit a different gear going forward. And it's just been like nonstop, for me. And now the best I can say, like I just said to you, is like seeing the two shows that I saw. So I saw the show here in Franklin, at the Quarry, which was this beautiful venue. And
what in the world song debut at that show? Because I've been listening to it over and over again, and there had to be a taper for that one. What in the world?
There were I think 4 new songs, if I recall, and that was mind blowing to me. But Derek just seemed to be really having a really good time. I call it like one of those midweek shows between bigger things going on, where you just kind of hit a thing and then you just let it all hang out. And that Saturday show in St. Augustine, which is on video, and it's like from the get go, they were all bouncing around on stage, like even Brandon, I haven't seen him move like that. Like just, he's usually just standing there and grooving, and you'll see some stuff, but they were really feeling it. So much so, the chatter on Facebook was, Derek had his hair down in the second set, and, everybody's like, well, why, like, oh, who cares? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I mean, I've been watching Derek Trucks a long time, and there's very rare times does he not have his hair in that little ponytail, in that long ponytail right there at the base of his neck. Like, no, it was significant, and they were letting their hair down.
It was, although I think we did confirm it was because it was the very, very hot, and the weather was the primary reason. But I think things happen for a reason, and symbolically it worked, and that's why I kind of appreciate TTB fans and great music fans like yourself on a deeper level, because we appreciate those little moments and those little things in a show that make it special and just make you feel that much closer to the band as you, I don't know, just get to know their everything about them, or as much as you can. Just makes you feel that much more connected to the music. There's this, like you were kind of referring to it even earlier, that this like sort of access to intimacy that you get with this band, because they're not the biggest band in the world, and
that's a good way to put it.
And they're not playing in a tiny bar either. So it's like it's almost like they are in a great sweet spot, in a cool sweet spot, in an ideal sweet spot in a lot of ways for hardcore fans of the band, where you still have that access, or just and not even just like access. It's more than just getting a photo after a show or something like that. It's their down to earthiness, their down to earthness also that exudes from the band on stage that you don't get. There's this this lack of pretension. They're an pretentiousness. They're not choreographed, but they're also very passionate, and like you're talking about, moved by their own music, as they should be. They're fans of each other, to the point where we can see them being distracted by the virtuosity of other members of the band at times.
Brilliantly. Yeah. I mean, it's so well put. And I wrote this on the Substack recently. I think it was after I saw the Franklin show. And it's, I've used this term a lot with Derek in particular. He's like a point guard, a really great point guard. He sees everything that's going on at all times. Everything is moving around him. When he needs to drive to the basket and shoot and take a dunk, he'll do that. When he needs to hang back and pass the ball, like it's like watching clips of Larry Bird or Magic Johnson, which I grew up in the 80s. Those were the guys, and so TikTok loves to feed me that shit, and it's watching Larry Bird make a no-look pass, I usually have to stop it. I used to stop those clips and say, okay, what was the other guy doing? What did he see that I'm not even seeing until the ball flips? And that's like what Derek's doing when he's tossing. It's not no-look passes, but it is. I'll give you an example, Adam. At Franklin, and I told my buddy Troy, my very best friend, and he and I've been seeing Derek together for 100 years, right? And I said, so he was finishing up. I think it was I Want More, and I think they went into Soul Sacrifice. I think this was it. They're sort of, how they go full bore into Soul Sacrifice, and he's going full bore, and he walks over to Brandon, and he's standing there, and he's not looking up. He's just playing his ass off. Derek is. And I think what happened, Adam, was the camera panned to him, and I got to see this on the big screen, which made it even better because I swear to God, Adam, 11 people are chugging. You know how this goes with Derek, right? It's the tension is built so hard. They are chugging. They are going 100 miles an hour, and they all know he's fixing to stop and go into that next part. And he looks up very quickly at Brandon, and the look Brandon gave him back was, it was so awesome. It was more than just like, got it. It was, I am right there with you, motherfucker. And so is everybody else. And we're going to make this pivot. And it was so cool. It was like one of those, like you said, one of those moments when you're paying attention to the details. And it was really, really great. And that's what you go to shows for,
Where you must have had pretty good seats.
Decent. I was
vantage point for at least to see this.
Well, I think the reason, and this is what happens in a show, but I'm pretty sure the reason I saw it so in depth was they had it on the screen, and I got to turn my attention up and look, and it was all in my face. It was perfect. It was exactly what you wanted.
Was it the band's screens on stage, or was the venues?
No, it's the venues ones. It was the venues ones. Okay. I'll tell you this:
both are cool. Having both is cool.
Yeah, the ones in St. Augustine, like I was looking at your montage at the beginning when you were playing the music, and I loved that set that they had for I Am the Moon, that real psychedelic, all those colors, real like that Saint Guillaume guy from Passaquan. And what the light show, speaking of, it was another thing I was going to talk to you about. The light show in St. Augustine was outstanding. In fact, the whole thing, I'm sure it probably showed up on stage too, on screen. They had sprays of flowers all over the place. The stage was gorgeous. It was a smaller stage. And I kind of, as bands get on bigger stages, they tend to take more space on stage because it's easier for people to move around. But I kind of dig that when they're a little tighter, they're a little more intimate. They're a band that is not like distanced from each other at all. But I liked it. Gabe and Susan were sort of all in that little corner. They're kind of tight. So but that was St. Augustine. I was kind of in the same place for both shows, a little further back for St. Augustine than I was.
You were at both St. Augustine or just
the Saturday show? I could only get down there. So
yeah, that's the second show, the last show, the second one. Those are that's awesome. What a great. So
I began the year with them. I caught the first couple shows, or the first show and a piece down there in Miramar Beach, Florida, and then I finished the year with them.
Bookends.
Least amount of times I've seen them since I saw them more times in the pandemic year than I saw them this year, I believe. I might have. I don't think I caught a show midsummer. I just haven't stopped to look and pay attention. And that sounds really stupid. I should have just done it before I talked to you, but I'm pretty sure it's only 4 shows. And my mind is cluttered with all of those Nugs feeds that we were blessed with. I mean, I use
the record for Nugs shows for TTB year. I don't remember ever getting
I love it.
This many. So that's awesome. Whatever their agreement that they have, and it's been, that's awesome that we have that level of access. Like there was that run in, what was it, in September, where they had 4 or 5 6 shows in a row. And by the 7th night, and then whenever there was no show, I'm like, where's my show tonight? Part of my routine. I'm like, where's my show?
Yep. I that was it. that's why I think as I'm sitting here babbling and going, I don't think I saw Midsummer. I'm pretty sure I didn't see Midsummer, but I saw them a lot this year because of all of that. You know, I think Red Rocks, I think that was streamed as well. I mean,
both nights, right?
So I got my fix, you know, and I, you know, like you said, the last, you know, I saw those two shows. I saw the 15th and 25th, and I think I got a lot of their new songs, and I'm trying to be really careful to not overdo. I really want to hear them in the context of the record. That worked really well with Eye on the Moon for me, so I'm trying not to like overdose on new. You know what I mean? I want to wait
for me.
Listen,
but it's always going to be just as fresh, and it's going to be new, and it's going to be a different sound because it's going to be obviously a record is its own thing, a polished piece in a different way than a live version.
Yes. I'm trying to kind of purposely deny myself a little of it just to see. I don't think it's going to last that much longer. But anyway, like everything I heard that's new, I'm like, yep, there we go. We're new record's going to be great. So yeah.
All the new stuff just sounds like it's just it sounds fresh. It also sounds familiar, and it also sounds like their music is timeless. And really all of the music really going back to Revelator through the new stuff. It all just has like such a timeless quality to it. I don't know whether it's because it is because they are a real band who plays instruments and sings, and that's always going to have a timeless quality to it. And their sort of bluesy, soulful bass of their music, BASE, is going to always, and BASS too, is always going to have a timeless quality. That I guess they're not a trendy band in that regard. Although we have talked about on the show a little bit, one of the new songs, Future Soul, kind of the upbeat rocker, the Jimi Hendrix kind of vibe, one that Mike Mattison wrote. That one has clearly, I mean, we all kind of agree, a sort of a commercial sense in mind. It may be one of the shortest songs they've ever, if that's how it is on the record. It's definitely shade under 4 minutes, which is definitely on anything under 4 minutes for Tedeschi Trucks, especially if they play that song live. That's not like an interlude or something like that. That's on the shorter end duration wise. So I think they're thinking a little commercial too, which is cool. I think it's only going to benefit like fans that much more. We're going to get like just different types of songs and experimenting with different sounds and ideas, and it makes sense. The future's got soul, like sort of. They're asking themselves about the future of music and humanity. There's always layers and meanings and ways to interpret these things.
You know, I think that's part of what has been so appealing to me all these years, following Derek and loving, through Tedeschi Trucks Band, and really felt, I fell in love with TTB the first time I saw him, live. I was like, this is just awesome looking. And, like I said, they deserve everything that they have worked really, really, really hard to get to this particular point, and put out some just fantastic music. And the thing that really does it for me is I just always feel better when I'm done watching them, I just feel good, and, that's just number one for me. With all of it is I am moved by the experience. I'm moved by being around it.
It's like being at, it's like being, and I've talked about, I think I talked about this last week. It's like being at a playoff game and your team always wins. Because you get that adrenaline, you get that, at least I do get that same feeling of excitement, anticipation, and eyes glued and ears glued on every moment. It's a shared experience with people around you. You're cheering, you're up, you get out of your seat how many times there. I lean into the sports metaphors. But the difference, I think, is you always get your team always wins. TTB is always going to leave you with that feeling of victory.
I mean, that's absolutely it, Adam, and it's an analogy I've been using. I used the basketball analogy earlier in terms of like fandom. Yes, absolutely. What you just said is a key. It's a key part of the fan experience. It is much like I grew up going to Florida Gator games with my family from the time I was a little kid. Orange and blue season tickets, blah blah blah. My family has exchanged it for music and shows, and so to me, a big when everybody gets together at the Fox or at the Beacon or at any of the things, it's a reunion, just like homecoming at the old school, kind of thing. You just see people that's when you see them, right? I think it's a great and I think, like you said, it just brings joy. It just brings joy. You are not frustrated because the running back dropped the ball, or the guy missed the tackle, or your coach is overpaid, or anything like that.
I was trying really hard to think of what point guard basketball player Derek would be the most like, and I still haven't come up with it because it would have to be a hybrid of someone. So I was like, oh, maybe he's Steph Curry because he can do like he can do everything. He could pass. He's a leader, but he can also like whatever dunking is, like the showmanship. This like dunking, I would almost equate to like, okay, it's like a solo that sounds amazing or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a showing off ability.
He's the one I think about for the same reasons you say. It's just because he is good at everything. He is dribbling, passing, shooting, scoring, assists. Like he's just he's just great. It's very much, to me, that's the one. Like everything revolves around
Jordan. He's closer to Michael Jordan, I would say. Like the GOAT. He's
Jordan. The only thing for me, and David Halberstam's Playing for Keeps about Michael Jordan was a really important book to me when I was when I was preparing to write Play All Night. It was a really interesting one because it looked at Michael Jordan. It was called Michael Jordan in the World He Made or something. Great book. I reread it every, 5-10 years, something. I just enjoy it so much. My only thing about Jordan is he was, when it was ultimately down to it, he was a two guard. He was a scorer 100%, right. And, Derek is much more like a point guard because he does share the ball a lot, like, come on, man. He's the greatest guitar player in the world. And his trombonist gets solos, credibly gets solos. And he goes, like that is, who does this?
Yeah, most other guitar players on what I would consider on Derek's level, whatever that mean, are for the most part they're the primary thing you're going to see for that. The show is, the band is named after them, unless you're in some iconic band with a lead singer who's even more famous than the guitar player, something like that. But for the most part, it's like, go see, insert great guitar player's name because they're they're the name on the bill. And Derek really is like the current day GOAT, and I think I kind of view him that way, with the same, like, I think he has that same sort of, not the same sort of, but also has a mystique. There's a mystique around, I think, that guy and his playing. We all, of course, he's Zenish and down to earth and all of those things too. But I think there's like we're looking at today's Duane Allman, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton. Like he's it. He's like him and Susan too. To be honest, like they're legends. I dropped that L word a lot on here because they deserve to be called that. And I think because they're not, Beyonce level, and they didn't exist in the same era as Jimi Hendrix, people don't talk about Derek and Susan as legends, but their music is just as moving and powerful, and their just skills are right up there with any of the great soul singers for Susan's case, or blues rock guitar players who came out of the 60s and 70s. Like they're the GOATs, and they're legends, living legends.
And going back to where I come into this whole story, which is Duane Allman, right? Like I bristle for years at any comparison to, Duane reincarnated this. I've probably said that on this podcast before, because it was so unfair to Derek when he was a young guy trying to make his name and do his thing. And, nobody chooses who they're born to, or who they were born as, right? Like that's, and but by the same token that, especially after like putting out this book on Duane and constantly thinking about the legacy, the stories I can tell as a result of that. Like these are things that he took directly from Duane Allman and the lessons of the Allman Brothers Band, even before he was in that the humility, the family nature of music. The last I had some, at the end of the book, I had like 4 or 5 things that I said that I felt like he and Warren both really took from the experience of being in the Allman Brothers Band. But Derek in particular, it is a family thing for him because he was born into that family. And, but, Duane Allman was very much the same way, a little bit, way more of a hothead, a little more egotistical, or could be seen as much, way more into, he did a lot of drugs and drugs didn't kill him, but they dang well might have. He was a reckless guy. Derek has the longevity thing down. And I think that's how, when people see him, it's hard, right? You and I are right in the middle of it, like, holy shit, can you believe this guy? like, listen to this, how you proselytize it. I do the same. Like this is, and with TTB, it's like, you want to just go have a damn good time, just go. And it's not the greatest guitar player in the world shredding. It's the greatest guitar player in the world playing a guitar and 11 other musicians. He's playing his band just like he's playing his guitar. That whole thing, and that's how Duane was. Duane had his direct foil in Dickey Betts as a guitarist. Susan doesn't do that with him for a lot of reasons. And, one is, she doesn't want to, and I don't blame her. She brings her own thing. And that was the thing that people back in the day were like, well, what happened to Derek Trucks Band and all the wailing? And I'm like, I get it, but Derek likes this, and this is hard to do too.
I like this too, and I think that in some ways it has more at least broad appeal for whatever value that has, is because you're also going to, and the Allman Brothers had this too, because they had great songs. Both of these bands have TTB, ABB. They have great songs, and they play the songs, and they play great covers too, and they have great originals. And I talked about this a million times, but the solos and the instrumentals and the compositions, all this stuff is always going somewhere. I feel like even when improvised, they're telling a story. There's a narrative. There's communication going on between the musicians. It's not exploratory. It's not excess. It's not showing you, look at me soloing, it's how great I sound. It centers around the music. It's really about the music, but storytelling. And I think TTB really does a great job of storytelling, and not just with songs, shorter songs or songs with lyrics per se. Even Passaquan, like musically, is taking you on a journey and expressing things and telling a story that words can't tell. And that's where music comes in. And it's just we're lucky to be in a time when this band TTB exists.
Yeah, and like that is one of the things, right? Be fortunate, right, that you lived on Earth at the same time as ... David Bowie was one of the first ones I heard that about, right? Like, it is this. You mentioned the songs. I thought about that Saturday, a couple weeks ago in St. Augustine. Idle Wind is like this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. They don't play it that much, and it was like, man. I will also say this, Adam, something that I noticed about their songs and about their choices of songs, their set lists. With the Allman Brothers, okay, back in the day, they had like 2 or 3 set lists, so you knew kind of how everything was going to go. You kind of, and then you'd be like, okay, here comes Midnight Rider. This is the slow blues part of the set, etc. TTB, I think I know I've said this to you before. I get no sense of how they move a set list until the show starts. And then I can start to the little cues I can see when I know something's gonna happen, and sometimes I feel it or hear it, just because I'm paying, like you said, really, 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 really uber close attention. But I get no sense of like how he writes out sets or how the songs, they choose to fit in, etc. And I say all that to say, usually when I go see a band, there are certain songs I want to hear. I never go into a TTB show with that expectation, and I'm never leaving feeling like, oh, I wish I'd have heard, because of
Same.
how well I feel. Thank you. You know, the set lists are just, they're very well constructed. They flow really well. The jams fit where they need to fit. Sometimes I can sit down, sometimes I can't, you know, like, and so listen, I heard the It Ain't Fair Dreams thing this spring, I think, at Miramar. And I mean, listen, I'm just going to say those two songs are bookends. Like, please record those on an album forever more. Like,
That's a good idea.
please. And I didn't hear it, you know, the last two shows I attended, and it wasn't as if thanks, Kirk. It wasn't as if I was like bummed that I didn't hear it, you know. Alecia came out and did. I think I got Bound for Glory, both like coming out center stage to sing Bound for Glory, which was that I hadn't seen before. So that was fantastic, you know. So, but just all to say, like, yeah, back, I don't have an expectation. Like back in the day, I was always, you know, thought Harlem would be in the set all the time. And they kind of started to rotate that out. And I've always had a real respect for how Derek and Warren Haynes, I got to give mad respect to Haynes on that one too, but how he has continued to keep set lists kind of fresh and moving. And, you know, even the fact that they don't always put circles into Passaquan, you know, like,
yeah, they just recently did that. I think that was the Friday, in St. Augustine.
St. Augustine.
I think you didn't see Passaquan was the first night. You didn't see Passaquan.
Correct, because he busted out the 335 on Saturday night, and I was like, they're not playing Passaquan again, and it was it'll come to me. It was a blues song. Shit, I can't believe I had it too right as we were talking, but no, I did not hear. So they did Circles and Passaquan on Friday, right? So, you know, to me, like those two things belong together, like, you know, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and With a Little Help from My Friends, or like, Brain Damage Eclipse at the end of Dark Side of the Moon or something like that. But I dig that Derek, you know, says, all right, we're just going to keep it. I just think it's a way to keep it fresh, you know, and I respect that a lot. I really respect that. It's fun for me as a fan.
I think he gets bored easily. I think it's for him. I think he likes to challenge himself, and he's one of those guitar players, I guess, who really doesn't like to play it the exact same way twice. At least the solos, certainly, but even some other parts, there's some slight variations, and things always evolve on the road. Certainly,
he was feeling, you know, Saturday night in St. Augustine, he was clearly feeling it. It was funny that what I said, like that Wednesday before in Franklin, I was telling my friend the same one I told the story to about Brandon doing the head nod thing. Like there was a point during that show when it seemed like at Franklin, it seemed like Derek kind of like took steps forward towards center stage to stand and like solo. And he wasn't posing like a guitarist does when he stands center stage and solos. But he was doing something that was like, yeah, I'm feeling very good right now, and I'm just gonna step here and, you know, throw some things out. You know, but I'm a big body language is one of the few things you can see other than the music, right? You can see them how they play and how the things go, but if you're just watching their body language, sometimes you can feel the spirit kind of flowing out also, you know, and that's why benefiting having the screens sometimes. And I've trained myself not to watch them the entire time because they can be very distracting.
There's a lot going on. I was gonna say there's a lot going on at the TTB show in terms of where to look. There's 12 members. There's screens. Yep. There's lights. There's stage decorations, the audience. There's a lot of visual stimuli to look at, but none of it is too much of a distraction, and everything really kind of works in sync. That's what I was kind of getting at with the production value and the screens that they add and the lights and the effects and the fog and all this. It all feeds into the overall experience and does not take away from the music. If anything, it enhances all of this, which is a hard thing to get to, I think, you know, but they've done a great job. Even just seeing some of the Warren pictures and streams on Nugs. There's some good stuff he's doing with his lights that I could see maybe TTB even incorporating moving forward.
Yeah.
A lot of cool psychedelic stuff going on. That's not a distraction. I mean, I'm into all that stuff, obviously.
Well, so am I, Adam. And I'll say, like, in St. Augustine, that was, and I've got the feed. I've rewatched it once. I'm going to rewatch it again because I found that the entire thing, the stage, the lights, everything was really cool. It was particularly cool for the reasons that you say. I don't think it takes away. And, I'll say that as a younger, like when I first got into the Allman Brothers, like I was that one of those, like, no, stand there and play. There's nothing else. Don't flash. Don't show this yet. I even they used to travel sometimes with a light show and I didn't always like it. I, thought some of the graphics were a little, and that was stupid. It was kind of like, no, like Duane liked the light show. Like, and frankly, even to this stage now at 50, almost 55, like I'm okay with bands that have dancers and choreography and stuff. If it fits, if I dig the music, that's fine. There was a time though when I was not even going to consider it because my guy was the blonde-haired kid who stood there and just played and made no moves, no faces. The band didn't do anything.
Referring to both of them.
Yeah, it was. This one was definitely Derek in that case. Because I watched him, stand there, and so but I'm 100% with you. Like that's the thing that Mad Dogs and Englishmen was so exciting to watch was because the performance was the event. Right. It was this, how are we going to get all this 30 people on stage to give something that's worthwhile? And, some of them damn near gave their lives for that, for rock and roll. And, it's funny. Speaking of Mad Dogs, one last thing I forgot to say earlier. Apparently, Duane Allman wanted a bigger band than 6 people in the Allman Brothers Band. And if you read, I think I see Alan's book back there, One Way Out.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning.
J-Mo and Tom Doucette both say like he would have had 10 people in the band if he could have. And I've always felt when we got to this size of Tedeschi Trucks band that in some ways I don't think it was Derek said, "Ooh, I'm going to fulfill Duane's vision." I just think Derek understood that to do this thing that he wanted to do, he needed this big band and this big sound. Which again, I think is awesome.
Is it that he was drawn to specifically horn players and harmony singers? Because obviously Duane recorded with a lot of the black soul singers, and there's a lot of those things on those songs, and even some of the Allman Brothers songs. So you could speak to this more than me, and music that Greg and Duane have done outside of the Allman Brothers Band does have some horns on it, and obviously, like I was referring to, Duane, doing a lot of guitar work with soul singers. So maybe it's like the combination of like, guitar dude band and the jazzy bluesy aspects of the Allman Brothers and rock too, of course, but combining that with the soul and the harmony vocalist and the horns was maybe the vision that Derek was able to ultimately live out, that Duane originally had.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea being right, this, I coined this term because I thought it was great. Psychedelic soul, swamp sunshine, psychedelic soul, swamp sunshine music. That's what TTB feels like to me. It feels like, and the Allman Brothers are very psychedelic as well, especially, like early in their tenure. And so, I think, I think that they are both very much cut from the same cloth. They're both, singular geniuses at their craft, at both as guitarists, but also as band leaders. And I think that they both understood, Derek he'd been a 7-piece Allman Brothers band and toured with a large Clapton band. TTB was, pretty large band by the time they were done, kept adding pieces. The horns thing was different, right? That was a change, and it was, Kebbi was the first, and who was the first trumpet player? I can see his face even because he sang also.
Saunders.
Yes, Saunders. Yes. Anyway, oh shit, we're gonna have to look that one up. I'm gonna look stupid.
Saunders.
Sanders. I was gonna say Sermon, but Sanders. Yes. But like, I guess they added people as they could afford it too. You know what I mean? And that was what the Allman Brothers, I think that Duane was maybe wanting to do. The thing that always got me, Adam, from the get-go was the 2 drummers. when Derek went with two drummers with this band, I'm like, I think two drummers is the coolest thing in the world.
I
And
agree.
it's because of the Allman Brothers. I'm gonna admit it's because my band, my boys have two drummers, and I just like, yes.
If you can, why wouldn't you?
Great point. That's another very, 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 very good point.
I don't know. I mean, one thing that jumps off the top of my head. I know a lot. There is a stereotype where, you know, concert goers are not always the most excited about a drum solo kind of thing going to a show.
Yeah.
That sort of gets the back row. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. It's a drum solo, but you're not getting a solo. You with TTB, you are getting in those solo spots. You're getting a duet, which is very, very different than a solo. This is a communication. This is a story. This is a narrative that they're building. This is a lot of the times a rhythmic. It becomes rhythmic, and it's just way, way more engaging, I think, to fans than a drum solo. Plus, you're getting power. It's just more powerful, and it works. You know, it works very well with slower ballads with the two drummers, and it works very well, obviously, with the upbeat stuff as well. And I think that a lot of, you know, anyone coming from just about any kind of music, I think there's an entry point for TTB. I see people post sometimes, oh, I have a friend who's in who I want to send a TTB song. What should I send them? What song do you guys think I should send them? And I say to meet them where they are. Like if they're into ballads and female vocalists, obviously send them some Alecia stuff, send them some Susan stuff, send them a slower ballad. If they're a jam band person, maybe send them Passaquan. If they're a horns person, send them something else. And I think that even like if you're like a metal dude or a hard rock person and you're a drummer, you're going to appreciate the TTB drummers, certainly. I think that's a good entry point for like maybe a metalhead or someone who's like, you know, into hard rock, just because it's such a powerful, unique thing. And those guys are sweating, especially Falcon by the end of the show.
You know, I have to say, what is it again?
Saunders Sermons. That's right.
You know, it's so funny because I was thinking sermon, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right at all to me.
It doesn't sound. I don't know why it doesn't sound right. I mean, we obviously know who that is, and whatnot, but it's.
I feel terrible because all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, we're live. Like this is gonna. I should have looked that bad boy up. But you know, they just as they were just adding these pieces, and you know something. I don't know how your folks talk about it, but you know, to me, they replaced, you know, 1/4 of that band coming out of the pandemic. And that, like, that's mind blowing, you know, to me, I guess, how easily that fit together, I think is the best way to. Yes.
But I think even musically, especially once they find the right person or potential candidates to be the right people, sometimes to fill whatever role it is, I think it happens pretty quickly where the people involved see the chemistry and it fits right away. It came up last week, but I remember I was lucky enough to interview Kebbi, of course, on the show, and I remember him like asking him like, "Did you guys know you were awesome right away?" in so many words, and he's like, "Yeah." So these even when they're such talented musicians get in a room, I think they sense it when it's a good fit fairly quickly.
Yeah. You know, that is you know 100% true, right? You can be humble and still know you're killers. And I'll say this is something I should give you some love for, but your interview with Gabe Dixon was just awesome, brother.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I thought so. I thought so too. There's some moments in there that I like refer to these conversations. There must be something good that came out.
Well, how this is going back to so one of the things of being a guy who studies the Allman Brothers and tells stories about the Allman Brothers is, you know, death is a thing that is a part of their story from the very beginning, you know, and it hovers. So how musicians respond to tragedy, to death in bands is just something I pay attention to, follow. I've got a lot. I mean, you know, for example, when Taylor Hawkins died of Foo Fighters, I knew there was no doubt they were going to continue. That's what bands do that are, you know, that's just kind of how it works. Not because the person isn't valuable, but because that's how they heal, you know, that's how folks go together. I don't think it's I think it's, again, one of those like really trite analogies. You could say what Gabe does as a pianist, you know, keyboard player coming into TTB is like what Chuck Leavell did when he came into the Allman Brothers in 1972. It's really weirdly, eerily parallel, and it's too easy to say. And so I mean, I've never, this is the first time I'm actually articulating it, but you know, like the talent that they got in that guy who was a fill-in, you know, for their great genius keyboard man was what a gem, you know, that he falls into, you know, obviously it doesn't fall into their lap. There's a purpose, there's a reason it all happens, but they picked the absolute right guy who is just an incredible member of that band. Like, you know, I think, you know, again, I know, like I said, I think grief and musicians and those sorts of things. So, you know, Kofi passes away in 2019, right when they're releasing Signs, the day of Signs' release. And then, you know, we a year later have the pandemic, all that thing, and they come out with this just brilliant album, I Am the Moon. And it was anchored around a song that Gabe wrote, you know, and what kind of band, I love this, right, allows a new guy to come into the band to write like the title song in their thing. It's like Jason Isbell wrote Decoration Day, right, when he joined Drive-By Truckers, and that was their title song too, right? Talent recognizes talent. You give it a spot and you nurture it. And I think that's like, you know, Gabe's a Nashville guy. I see him a decent amount around here, solo stuff, like his little trio. His holiday show is always great because you get some Christmas songs.
I wore that out on archive.org listening to Gabe's, even the holiday show. It's such a fun vibe. It's a very different vibe when he's sort of even hosting his show and seeing and talking to the audience a lot more directly and telling storytelling by talking as well. It's a totally different vibe than a TTB show, and that's a cool intimate experience in itself. And selfishly, as a Tedeschi Trucks band fan, you know, first and foremost, of course, I feel like when you get to know Gabe and you get to know his music, it brings me closer to Tedeschi Trucks band in a lot of ways, because he's from you know, forever now is very much associated, his voice, his playing, his style. And I think it's a wonderful, great, and maybe even essential part of the you know, coming to the band after Kofi, that he brings his songwriting, his voice to the band also, and something new and something different and something fresh and different than Kofi, than just being a keyboard replacement. I think his songwriting and his voice and his vocals, it's bringing something different and a freshness to the band, and that makes it, and that probably makes it easier to, in some regard, to transition. You don't see him as replacing Kofi, you see him as Gabe Dixon and all that Gabe Dixon has to offer to the band.
You've spent some time with Gabe's catalog. I think before you interviewed him, I have a Gabe Dixon playlist that I made. That guy puts out a lot of music, and I like,
on Spotify?
You know, I probably have it on, I moved off of Spotify. I'll send it to you. If I do have it on Spotify, I'll send it to you. Yeah, I've got it's, I don't know, it's about an hour, maybe 45, maybe a little bit over an hour. He does a really good version of Jimmy's Hey Joe. Like, you know, like, and it's a piano, it's not a Billy Joel piano version, right? It's a, you know, because Gabe, man, that dude's a blues man, you know, just like Mike Mattison. Gabe can sing the shit out of the blues. You know, I really, this is one thing I've been thinking about with TTB, is just that sort of weird parallel between what happened with the Allman Brothers, with their resident genius, and what happened all these years later. You know, differences, you know, TTB had been going a number of years. It wasn't right at the beginning, et cetera, but this, like, what a gem. And that really great interview also with Ephraim's replacement.
Manuel Eckham.
Manuel. And
Yeah, I'm lucky. I was lucky to talk to him too on the show. That was super
boy,
cool.
so he got like again, watch that St. Augustine show again if you can, like the Saturday show. The horn section was bumping, dude. They were bumping, and they were really like, the bumping was like encouraging each other, and which they all do. That's one of the coolest things about that band. Come back and Mark and Alecia do their little handshake thing with Mike, and they do their, when one of them comes back to backstage, back to their spot where they're singing, how much they just seem to enjoy the shit out of playing together. And that's why you spend all the time to go.
That someone online posted a picture of a poster of the original Bonnaroo. It was a surprise to see Gabe Dixon down there. I think I found that up. June 21st, 22nd, 23, 2002. I see Gabe Dixon band. Super cool. Yeah, he's been at it a long time.
His debut record came out in 2008. That's what, 17 years ago? And it's got, again, he has been cranking out good songs that, how many songs, you know this better than I, how many new songs have they played this summer?
New songs?
During 25? Is it 4?
What's that?
How many of their new originals did we get this summer?
Is it, I think either 6 or 7.
That many? Ooh, wow.
Yeah, let me see, because I think it was 6, and then I think that What in the World was the 7th. Someone did post something about this recently, so I could probably find it fairly quickly. But
when did they say the record's coming out? It's spring, right? Have they given us a date?
It was February or March. Yeah, Crazy Crying, Moon, Who Am I, Future Soul, Devil Be Gone, I Got You, and What in the World. 7 songs, and that was the order they came out, I think, as well. Yeah, I love all of them.
Like I said, there are times a new song can kind of drag. That did not happen the times I heard the new songs this year.
Not drag. It's just it might take the with TTB. I was going to say the third listen, but sometimes other songs of other bands. Oh, a song grows on you or whatever.
For sure, for sure.
Pretty much immediately after hearing all of these, and if not, then the second time was like, because you don't even know. The second time is kind of the better listen, because you kind of almost know what you're listening for, so you're it's fresh, but you're also anticipating what's great about the song, or if that makes any sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense that second time around. It's just funny. I reread books partially for the same reason. I reread them for the details that I missed first time. I read all nonfiction, so I'm pretty much always finding that. I'm always in search of that. But it's yes, exactly. If you have a familiarity, you know what you're kind of listening for, toward, or something like that, and it's why we gravitate toward the new jams and the new music.
It's got to be a double album they're coming out with. That's what we were hypothesizing. Because
I was just about to ask you that.
They put out so much content or new songs already. I would think they have some more in the chamber, and I think Derek might have mentioned something about that. So or expect a lot of music. There was some kind of new quote came out not too long ago. So I think we may not get I Am the Moon amount of content, but we'll get maybe half that. I don't know. We'll see. If they just put out these 7 songs on an album, that's fine with me too. Like I'm not going to complain.
Yep. No, I'm with you. And like I said, listening to them is just surprise after surprise for me, and that's a good thing. So one of the things I did this past summer, so when you get as much music as we do, right, when everything is recorded live, you have access to every single solo Derek played in 2025-ish, right? Almost every single thing is out there. I began, and this was part of it, was when I wrote Play All Night, was like reappreciating an album as a statement, And so I went back and really did a deep dive on Derek's studio output, and I put a playlist together of just the songs where his solos, everything from early DTB all the way to, I don't think that, I think I finished it before the Mad Dogs and Englishmen set. So I don't think there's anything there, but and I tried not to do live because I wanted to do like, this is what Derek, what he wanted to put down into eternity, because all this other stuff is somewhat ephemeral. People record it and you have it, but he doesn't own it anymore. But these are the things he said, I want to say during this song. And, that was really a good way to, sort of dig deep into the breadth of his output and his catalog. And there's certain things he does. The solo on I Am the Moon is one, where he just does that climb up. He does it in the Layla Live, which is on that playlist. And there's another one, and I'm losing right now where it is. Oh, and on he also does it on I Am the Moon. I'm thinking of the part on I Am the Moon where he just makes these climb ups that just slay me, and those the thing about the records, like you said, looking forward to whatever it is that they put out, because they're thoughtful about this stuff. All artists are. I mean, most artists are, and you got to respect that, whether or not you like what they're doing or not. Or I do. I feel like I do at least respect the hustle, right? I'm compelled to do what I do, just like you're compelled to do what you do, out of a love for, it's a different force. It's a force beyond you, I would be doing this. Well, I mean, honestly, you could tell me the same thing. I would be doing this with or without anybody paying any attention to what I'm doing.
I was already having these conversations, and then I just decided to hit record and say them instead of typing them all the time, I guess, also.
Yep. And, if it like that right there, one of the things that I'll write in, I send signed book plates to people to give gift copies of Play All Night, and I'll write, to a fellow traveler, because that's essentially what we're talking about here, right? Like, this makes the journey, the hard parts of the journey, palatable, easier. Music makes it easier. Talking about music makes it easier. Thinking about it makes it easier. Talking with your friends in private and online is a part of that, journey. And, I feel like we have the best band going out there for the soundtrack for that journey.
I think that
it never disappointed me.
Yeah, no, there's like literal science behind music and sound having a healing properties and all this stuff. And I've had, not me, me personally, obviously music, I love music and all that, but people who have terminal or dealing with really hardcore illness, depression, whatever, physical, spiritual, emotional, like music is definitely has these healing properties. So we're drawn to it from that standpoint. But again, when it comes to talking about it, I think that just brings us all closer together. And if we're talking about something like this music that physically heals us, it's just this sort of positive reinforcement, I think, or something like that. Those things, those ideas, those concepts go hand in hand. We love the music, and talking about the music that we love brings us all close together, and it makes us appreciate the music more. So it's like one thing feeds into
for sure. Other. Yeah, for sure.
We're proselytizing, is that the word you use?
We're evangelizing a little bit.
Yeah,
we're preaching.
Missionaries, whatever you want to call us. We're definitely it's that sort of thing. And it's not even something that like you're saying, we do we're like we said, it's almost involuntary. We're compelled to, like I was saying even before we started recording, like they're the best band. If TTB is the best band, why wouldn't I want to talk about the best band all the time? And that, like I was saying, that comes across as fanboy to some who may not be in the know. But if you know, you know. And I think that's what really brings us also closer together, is because the music, whether it's the Allman Brothers Band or TTB, that band is always going to put the music at the front of what's important, whether you're sitting in the back, whether you're sitting in the front, whatever the price of the ticket costs, if they have a fog machine, if they have lights, whatever it is, ultimately the music is always going to be the center of the focus of that band, and be the number one thing that the fans value.
And
fans is what I'm saying.
and that is, the one of the things that I'll express a lot in my own discussions online is it's the Allman Brothers, is Duane Allman and the family tree, because that whole piece of what you're talking about is that was that, the founding ethos of the Allman Brothers Band. Now success and everything else changes all of that, but at its very core, it was, we're going to play music the best we can. Every time we go on stage, we're going to leave it all there, and that's what you saw when you saw Mad Dogs and Englishmen. That's what they saw, and that's what they, what TTB, lives. It's a long lineage that they're a part of, as particularly in this, the southern musical side, because they are very much the descendants of that Allman Brothers Band tradition, and I think they're different, but they're equally as great, I think. And boy, I just said one, but I truly love Tedeschi Trucks Band.
Yeah, and I can't help
can't talk enough about them.
I got the same cup. Is part of it behind there? Is part of the love for TTB coming from an Allman Brothers Band, foundation? Can you almost pretend? Because I remember Alan Paul, he's like, I can kind of just pretend I was in the balcony one night. I was like, oh, maybe that does sound like JMO up there. And obviously, referring to the back to the reincarnation thing in Derek and Duane, like Greg gave us permission to basically say, because he said it himself in so many words, that Derek is essentially Duane reincarnated and then some. But can you hear and conjure up feelings and thoughts about Duane's music when you see Derek? Can you pretend that the double drummers is the Allman Brothers? Do you feel like you're at an ABB show or something like that sometimes? If they're playing an ABB song.
Okay, all right. That's about the only time when I've just when I can close my eyes and tune it out, and just you tune out anything else and just listen to the music. Sure, but okay. So coming to Derek and coming to Tedeschi Trucks, Derek Trucks Band, Tedeschi Trucks Band, etc., was definitely because he was related to Butch Trucks. There's a video on YouTube of a news clip from the first time I saw him at this little club in Orlando, in Castleberry Flight. Somebody sent it to me like the last couple months. He's got it set as safe for kids, so I can't save it on my playlist. I can't save it. I have to look it up every single time. But that's a side note. It started because I went to see this kid who played slide, who was supposed to be super good, and I loved guitar and loved slide guitar and loved the Allman Brothers. And then I saw this little kid play at the time, 12 or 13, and he just, it was the most unbelievable thing I'd seen. And, at that point he was, a little kid playing blues with a big SG, playing slide guitar. That was pretty much his thing. The songs were all that. And then 4 years later, I saw him with DTB open for Frog Wings, and he came with Jan Rico and Todd Smalley, and I think Bill McKay was still in the band, was in the band then too. So, and it was just this whole different. It was what Derek Trucks Band did, this whole different thing. And that's when, for me, Derek stopped being a Duane Allman clone, and he wasn't ever one before, but stopped being like the second coming, and really became like, oh my God, this guy is really good, and on his own. And he wasn't playing Statesboro Blues and One Way Out and Layla. He was playing, Naima and So Close, So Far Away and So What and D minor, his D minor blues and all these crazy songs, So, to go back to it, Adam, no, I'm not even seeking that either, right? Like, I didn't see the original Allman Brothers Band either. I am amazed at what they do as a band. And it's not, I do love when they play Allman Brothers songs. Of course, that's like going to church, So I do very much, because I think he treats those songs really well, very respectfully. What they did to Stand Back this summer with Warren, and then they did it again with Reese Winans here, was just do more of that. Give me more of that, but so I was predisposed to like Derek Trucks from the very beginning, but he won me over very early as this. I'm not
Artist.
this little kid. I'm not making faces and doing this. Yeah, I'm pursuing some other path. And then what was crazy to me, I think crazy is maybe the wrong word to use, but how full circle it kind of came around when he forms TTB, kind of how much of that Allman Brothers sort of came back into him going forward, where he had really left it behind when he stopped being a little kid playing guitar, at least from, again, my vantage point.
That makes sense, and it can come back to those songs with a newfound enthusiasm and maturity. You got a question here from Kirka. Bob, do you have any opinion about what the Allman Brothers Band was like the year it was Derek and Jimmy Herring?
The great summer of 2000. Kirk, I was fortunate to see it twice. I saw the show the night Alan Woody died, but nobody knew, and I saw the show the night everybody knew Alan Woody died, August 25th and 26th. I love summer 2000 Allman Brothers shows. The best summer of music. Every show I got was something exciting to listen to. The last couple shows, 922, 923. I've listened to 923 I hundreds of times probably over my life. Just one of the last shows of that tour. So summer 2000, it's sad in a lot of ways that Jimmy Herring wouldn't stay, given how awesome Derek and Jimmy really sounded a lot like Dickey and Duane that summer. They just worked really well together. And, Haynes comes back in spring 2021, 2001, Haynes comes back at the Beacon, and, that's that classic final lineup that we have. But summer 2000, Kirk, that shit rules.
I was going to pull up, I don't know if there's one on Wikipedia, but those charts that show, the when the band members came into a band, and this is Tedeschi Trucks one, which is interesting to take a look at, seeing everything in front of us so we can see, because we were
Saunders Sermons. I feel so terrible about that.
Right, first trumpet player, and then was Mobetta Brown, right? And then
I don't even remember that. And that is through.
Mobetta Brown was first, and then I'm tripping. He was Saunders Sermons was. Is this right? Maybe this is not right.
No, because Saunders Sermon did not play trombone. He was a trumpet player.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
You failed.
Some
Wikipedia.
Of those names look right.
You failed Wikipedia. Well, we tried.
Yeah. Jimmy Herring was post Beacon. Summer 2000, basically. I think it started in June. That was Derek's second summer with the band, and woof, what a run. What a glorious run that was. Brought back a conversation to the Allman Brothers Band that really hadn't been there. Dickey with Warren, it ended up being a lot of times like a big fist fight up on stage, just going back and forth, particularly toward the end. And
Saunders Sermons was trombone. We're tripping.
Are you serious?
Maurice Mobetta Brown was trumpet player 20.
Maurice, yeah, 15. Okay,
right. And then was Ephraim since then, and then Emmanuel's touring with them at the moment. Justin Johnson last, so they've had a few different touring musicians. Obviously,
I made it a point to about 10 years ago. I was like, I need to learn all this band songs, all the names, everything else, because again, another thing that happens when you're just inundated with music is that it all comes as one giant thing. And so I did spend a lot of time, like, I felt like these guys deserve that I pay a little more attention to them and what they're doing. But clearly I wasn't doing that until 2016 when Saunders Sermon joined the band on trombone, which is interesting to me. Boy, I've got some timelines all messed up on that bad boy.
No, he was original
Yeah.
original
Oh, he
trombone,
was.
and then Elizabeth. Only two trombone players. Right.
So I swear to God, I swear to God, when I saw him in 20.
He's I think he sang on the studio version of part of me, doing the falsetto. I think that was
Yeah, he used to sing also, and that's
right.
why I didn't remember that they had three-piece horn section to start, but obviously they had three-piece horn section to start, and maybe it was just Mike on backing vocals with him. Show me your backing vocals.
Yeah, they didn't add, I think, Alecia until 2016.
When did Mark come in?
Mark's original.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Big
so
band.
it was Mark and Mike, and then Saunders would also do vocals, is what it was. Okay.
I guess on part of me. I'm not sure where else. Maybe he did some.
No, he sang. Yeah. Things are a little fuzzy the farther back I go on that on those. I remember seeing him take and sing at the microphone.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I don't remember what it was, and I couldn't even tell you where it was that happened. But I clearly so the lineup that we have today. When did Alecia join them? I'm sorry. When did Elizabeth join the band?
2015.
15. And does that thing say Saunders' sermon was still there in 2015?
Yeah, that's when they
split up.
Overlap, but yeah, then
so she's been there for 10 years. Wow. I don't remember any trombonists in that band before her.
Alecia was 2015 also, it says. But maybe that they didn't do shows until 2016.
Well, no, she joined. I remember when she
not last, but
she joined during the lock-in thing, the Mad Dogs thing. I think that's what brought her to their attention, because her dad was in Joe Cocker's band,
right? And
she was in Haynes's band. Also, yeah.
So they all had some connection, small degree of separation to, that helps. It helps to get the gig, and, just having that personal connection. We've been talking for over an hour and a quarter. I don't know if you got anywhere to go or be, but I appreciate. I know you're in an earlier time zone. We could go a little longer if you want. I'm sure what else you want to cover or talk about. We've done pretty good covering a smorgasbord of stuff. I don't know if you had any thoughts about the Dickey Betts tribute. Might as well bring that up, because that was this past year, doing a little bit of a recap. That was earlier this year. And what's interesting about that, at least looking back at those shows and thinking about TTB's sets and the music they've played throughout the year after that, is that they kind of were very heavy. Allman, the first quarter of this year was very heavy. Allman Brothers and TTB for me, Derek Susan for me, just listening to, because that's all we had was these sort of Dickey Betts tributes and music, and I was doing episodes covering and all of that. And then, we were all kind of expecting or anticipating, I think, very heavy Allman Brothers covers early on in their Live in 25 tour, but we didn't really get that. I think we've always gotten the stand backs and different songs throughout the year. That's always been a part of the show. But even initially, I think Derek and Susan probably got their fill in a lot of ways, like doing
so right, because remember, it was the Dickey tribute show, and then it was the two shows at Mattison Square Garden, and so there's 6 hours of Allman Brothers that got blasted out there. So the Dickey tribute, I think every one of us was hoping for a lot more Warren and Derek than we got. I don't know if this has ever been discussed on this, but for me, I was just thinking we were going to get a little more of the actual Allman Brothers, and it was one song for all of the Allman Brothers. And that one song was Liz Reed, and it was exponentially better than anything else that happened before or after in that evening. It was so, in fact, I'm sitting on I recorded it, and I've got commentary typed in about just how brilliantly it was played. The thing about Derek, Warren, Susan too, but they know their history, they know where they come from, and they know Macon and Dickey are important to why they are who they are and where they are, and they paid a lot of homage to that, and that was fantastic. And then I blew the budget on Madison Square Garden tickets in April, which is New York in and of itself is expensive. Then you add 2 tickets to 2 big shows, and like my budget was blown in the first 4-5 months of the year when you add the festival down in Miramar.
Your team is always going to win, though. Like we talked about,
right? You're
always gonna. It's.
My cup overflows. My cup overflows, and you're right. Like there's nothing like life is short. Buy the tickets. I'm interested. Like you said, to see next year. I'll be at the Sun, Sand, and Soul. I Am the Moon Crush again. Hopefully there'll be something happening. I guess we got hopefully get some announcements coming sooner rather than later, and I can start to plan by 2026 year around where I'm going to go see my band.
From what I understand, there may be a big Beacon residency upcoming in March. I don't know if you've heard anything about this, but that was what some of y'all were reporting to me. Was the rumors down in St. Augustine during those shows that I heard. So I'll just leave it at that. But a big residency, from what I understand. Nothing set in stone, but we'll keep an eye out for that.
And then you got a album release sometime going on there too.
Gotta promote the album, right? Don't we? Gotta get on the road. Just because no dates have it or on the schedule for whatever for the most of early first quarter next year doesn't mean ones can't be added.
It's coming. We just got to keep our eyes out. Dude, I appreciate. I've loved the conversation. I love the podcast and the work that you're doing. It's just great to catch up and talk some shop, man.
Certainly, yeah. Let's keep in touch and talk. Soon, and it could be what is it? No, later this year, early next year, whatever. Like I'm sure things are going to happen. There'll be news things. Keep me posted on what you're up to, and we'll reconvene certainly.
Right on, my dude. Hit me up.
Oh, thank you everybody for listening. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, do all the things. Weedside, Woodside. Thank you, TTB band crew. Bob, fans, chat, everybody. It's been fun. Thank you so much. All right, my brother. Peace.
Thanks, dude.